Andre the Giant's daughter is even bigger than him. There was no bigger, literal or figurative star in professional wrestling before Roman Reigns and John Cena, before Steve Austin and The Rock, before even Hulk Hogan. During the 1970s and 1980s, the 7-foot Frenchman was an international superstar, making it into the 1974 Guinness Book of World Records as the highest-paid wrestler in history at that time, earning nearly $400,000 per year. Andre has participated in a number of films and television series, making him a crossover phenomenon among non-wrestling fans. But the same genetics that gave Andre the Giant his stature also played havoc on his physique, leaving him a damaged shell of himself by the time he reached his mid-40s. Take a journey through time with us as we examine Andre the Giant's life and death. The birth of a giant. Andrei Roussimoff was born May 19, 1946, in France. Boris and Marianne Roussimoff, his parents, were both immigrants, he from Bulgaria and she from Poland. Childhood. The Roussimoffs resided in the Moline district of France. Andre, sometimes known as Didi, grew up on his family's farm and had a very pleasant upbringing. Gigantism. As Andre got older, it became clear to people around him that something was wrong. Andre was 6 foot 3 inches tall and weighed 208 pounds at the age of 12. Andre was diagnosed with gigantism, which is described as abnormally enormous increase in size or height of the entire body or sections of the body, most commonly owing to pituitary gland failure. Farm boy. Andre left school after the 8th grade. Despite outstanding scores, especially in maths, he believed that a high school diploma was not required to work on his family's farm. Andre worked hard. Andre's enormous stature, according to his brother Jacques, enabled him to undertake the job of 3 fully grown men. Introduced to wrestling. Andre's life was drastically transformed when, at the age of 17, he was exposed to the stage sport by a French wrestling promoter. The promoter relocated Andre to Paris, where he debuted as Jean Fier, modeling on the French folk figure Grand Fer. Worldwide star. Andre met Canadian wrestling promoter Frank Valois, who went on to become his business manager not long after he started wrestling. Andre began traveling to numerous wrestling organizations across the globe, including those in the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and Africa, thanks to Valois' arrangements. Big in Japan. Andre, billed as Monster Roussimoff, had a triumphant debut in Japan in 1970, where the giant would become well-known. Andre discovered he had acromegaly, a disease caused by excess growth hormone, GH, after the growth plates had closed, as a consequence of a tumor on his pituitary gland while in Japan. Andre's choice. Andre was offered numerous alternatives for dealing with his acromegaly diagnosis after learning of it. Despite the possibility of enhancing his quality of life, Andre continuously refused therapy or surgery, believing that fixing his acromegaly would jeopardize his budding superstardom. Coming to America. Despite Andre's worldwide popularity as a draw by 1973, people seemed to be tired of him, and gate revenues for his performances started to decline. Seeking for help, Valois approached North American promoter Vincent J. McMahon, shown here. McMahon instantly took over Andre's career and implemented various modifications that helped define his career. For starters, it was McMahon who gave Roussimoff the moniker Andre the Giant. McMahon also ordered that Andre adapt his wrestling style, removing athletic movements in favor of heavy moves that showcased Andre's strength. Touring the territories. McMahon also built up a travel-heavy touring schedule for Andre, which saw him fast move from territory to territory before getting stale. This enabled Andre to generate sold-out crowds on his infrequent visits, generating revenue for the Giant, promoters, and McMahon alike. McMahon Sr. collected a charge of all of Andre's engagements from then on as payment for his role in recovering Andre's career. Wepner fight. Although professional wrestling is clearly contrived entertainment, Andre did participate in one high-profile actual battle in 1976. Andre faced up against famed pro boxer Chuck Wepner, aka The Real Rocky, in an unscripted combat as part of the promotion for Antonio Inoki and Muhammad Ali's hybrid boxing wrestling showdown. Andre threw Wepner out of the ring at the conclusion of the match. $6 Million Giant. Andre made an appearance as a Sasquatch in the two-part $6 Million Man episode The Mystery of Bigfoot in 1976. That was Andre's first acting job, and although being disguised behind huge quantities of makeup, it substantially boosted his fame. Undefeated. By the time the 1970s turned to the 1980s, Vince McMahon's ambitions for Andre the Giant had paid off handsomely. Andre was the biggest star in wrestling during the conclusion of the territorial period, no pun intended. He crisscrossed the world visiting several nations. Due to Andre's occasional appearances, fans have created a mythology around him. This was encouraged by promoters like McMahon, who promoted Andre as undefeated, despite the reality that he had multiple defeats in both McMahon's WWF, the predecessor to his son's future WWE, and other companies. Early meetings. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the heroically cast Andre feuded with the most diabolical villain in McMahon's era at the time, Hulk Hogan. Just a few years later, the positions would be flipped, and the stakes would be considerably higher. WWF. When Vincent Kennedy McMahon took over control of the then WWF from his father, the aforementioned Vincent J. McMahon professional wrestling changed forever. The younger McMahon defied the traditional territorial wrestling structure, building the WWF into a nationwide wrestling promotion via cable television, syndication, and ultimately pay-per-view. McMahon's strategy included Andre the Giant. With the exception of Japanese bookings, the McMahon permitted the Giant to continue accepting. The promoter started employing Andre entirely in the WWF as one of the company's top baby faces, or good guys. Andre had a significant role on the undercards of the first two WrestleManias. The Princess Bride. Andre took a vacation from the rigors of wrestling to shoot The Princess Bride in 1986. Although this was not Andre's first film, he had previously acted in a number of television episodes. His performance as Fezzik in Rob Reiner's fairy tale spoof was unique. Andre played a sweet, caring soul rather than a monster or an ogre. Both the film and Andre's performances have become cult favorites. Anesthesia Urban Legend. During the same time that Andre was filming The Princess Bride, he opted to get much-needed back surgery, which gave rise to one of the Giant's most well-known urban legends. According to hearsay and gossip, Andre's anesthesiologist was unable to calculate the appropriate dose for the procedure based on his size. As a result, the doctor calculated the quantity based on Andre's tolerance for vodka. Heel turned. Andre McMahon felt it was time for a change when he returned to the ring in 1987. Andre was no longer the boisterous babyface he once was, with the Giant being positioned as a malicious heel opponent against the company's champion and 1980s pop culture phenomenon, Hulk Hogan. The Hogan-Andre feud set the setting for 1987's greatest wrestling spectacle. WrestleMania 3. Andre the Giant vs. Hulk Hogan storyline culminated in WrestleMania 3 in March 1987, which was the biggest wrestling event in history at the time. Although it wasn't the first time Andre and Hogan had wrestled in a stadium, the two having headlined a Shea Stadium concert earlier in the decade with the heel-face dynamic inverted, it was the first time they'd fought in the modern National WWF, and it was a big success. The WWF claimed a crowd of over 92,000 fans. Current estimates put it closer to 78,000 in Detroit's Pontiac Silverdome, as well as a record-breaking $10.3 million pay-per-view take. The fight included the now iconic sight of Hogan body-slamming Andre to thunderous chants before pinning him for the win. Briefly, world champion. The Andre-Hogan narrative reached a peak in February 1988 when the two appeared on an episode of NBC's The Big Event. Andre beat Hogan to win the World Heavyweight title for the first and only time in his career, thanks to twin brother/evil referee antics. Wrestling is odd. Andre sold the title to Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase moments after the bout concluded, adding to the plot. The battle drew 33 million viewers, a wrestling record. The Boss. Andre was a well-liked figure in the locker room during his career. Wrestlers referred to him as boss, seeking his favor in the same way that characters in The Godfather do. Those who acquired his favor were rewarded, while those who did not, even legendary wrestlers like Macho Man Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior, were often ignored backstage and brutalized in the ring by the behemoth. Colossal connection. Andre slid down the schedule a little when his program with Hulk Hogan ended, before being placed into a tag team with wrestler Haku, known as the Colossal Connection, to drastically reduce his in-ring action. The end. Andre made his last WWF debut in 1991 as a fan favorite babyface once again. In 1992, he wrestled his last bout of any type in Japan. Death. Andre went to France in early 1993 to attend his father's burial. His chauffeur discovered him dead in his hotel room on January 27th. Andre died in his sleep from heart failure caused by his acromegaly and the strain of bearing so much weight on his body. Several of the stars of the 1980s wrestling attended Andre's burial. Final resting place. As per his final wishes, Andre Roussimoff was cremated, and his ashes were scattered on the grounds of his beloved North Carolina ranch. Andre left the entirety of his estate to his daughter Robin, about whom little is known. Who is Andre the Giant's daughter? Robin Christensen Roussimoff is Andre Roussimoff's daughter and the sole living successor. But with whom did Andre the Giant have a child? Robin's mother's name is Jean Christensen, however, she's not a well-known name. Christensen worked in wrestling, but her real job was in public relations. According to legend, Andre originally refused to confess that he was the father of Jean's child and had no contact with Robin at all. How much money did Andre the Giant leave his daughter? Despite Andre's earnings changing significantly over his lifetime, he did collect an incredible amount of money by the time he died. According to sources, he was valued at about $10 million at the time of his death. His will stated that he desired to be cremated and that his whole assets should be distributed to his daughter, Robin. As a result, Robin received around $10 million from her absentee father. That presumably wasn't much of a comfort to his now adult daughter, who never met her father. In an old interview, Robin stated that she'd seen her father a couple of times in the ring and then twice in court. Andre's friends stated it broke his heart that he couldn't spend time with Robin because of difficulties and issues with his ex-girlfriend. And it's possible that's why he bequeathed his whole life's fortune to his daughter. Did Andre the Giant know his daughter? Whilst the tale implies that Andre's ex attempted to prohibit him from seeing his daughter, that's not the case. Despite the fact that Jean Christensen died in 2008, Robin subsequently revealed that her mother never barred her from visiting her father. Andre, in reality, was the one who sought to avoid exposure, while still attempting to get his daughter to come and get to know him. Yet, as Robin stated, at the age of 10, she turned down the opportunity to travel across the nation to see her father, in a location she'd never visited. Yet, she noticed that her parents chatted on the phone regularly, and she was able to speak with her father. He also paid child support and was always accessible to both of them. That is, until his death. Robin received the news through voice message one day after returning home from school. Andre died in France, where he was attending ceremonies for his recently departed father at the age of 48. Robin, who was devastated by the revelation, then spent time hunting down her father's known acquaintances in order to discover more about him. While she has said that she doesn't watch his job, whether acting or wrestling, since it's difficult for her to do so. What is Andre the Giant's daughter doing now? Although Andre's relationship with his daughter was probably not what either of them desired, he did include her in his will, to the point that she now owns the right to his image. She continues to get royalties from all of his work, and she has ultimate say over utilizing his image in any way. Robin has already worked on a film about her father, and another biography is reportedly in the works.